You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower here in beautiful Northport, Florida. I have an open conversation today. I'm really looking to get the citizens involved. Please share the video. Please like the video. Please like the page. We have so many things to talk about that are going to be happening, hopefully, in the very near future. The city of Northport is has been actively a participant on my show. We're going to have the chief and the deputy chief on the 17th. Right now, as far as I can tell, we're also going to have the city manager on the 3rd. We have got CARE, uh, rape and prevention and human trafficking, on the first Monday of the month. The second Monday of the month is oh my gosh, just uh, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Uh, I'll come back to it, but we've got a commissioner on the third Monday of the month, and then City Hall again on the fourth Monday of the month. Who and they designate somebody to come on. We've got some updates on hurricane events that are happening over in Inglewood. But the most important part of today's show, and I want to really reiterate this, I'm looking for hot topics that you, the listeners, want more of. So if you're on the radio and you want to call in, 941 391 4663. Once again, 941 391 4663. Give me your hot topics. Or if you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please put your comment in on a hot topic that you want to have on. If you know of a guest that you want to have on the show, that would be fantastic. Some of the things that are out there as far as hot topics and kind of buzz conversations. There's of course, we've got wildlife. We've got, and I don't know that trees are so much a conversation as massively as they were, but wildlife and trees kind of coupled together. The clear cutting, some of the ideas behind that. We've had really good, engaging conversations with people. Also, the Warm Mill Springs. We've had good conversations about that. We've got Price Boulevard, several other roads that are being talked about being put in. You've got the corridors of Toledo Blade and Sumter and 75, all four corners on each one of those. The importance of the hospital moving in, the importance of the second hospital being moved in the Welland Park Northport area. All of these things are part of the conversations that we have. I'm also hooking in with Inglewood. Inglewood is going to have their hurricane awareness expo. I believe that's June 1st. I will be going live from there. It is very important that you participate in these things. I was at the Northport uh, Hurricane Expo this past Saturday, and it is recorded. It is live on Facebook and YouTube. You can go in and watch that and actually learn quite a bit. The resiliency fund for Sarasota County is massive. If you've owned a home or a trailer and you're still in need, there are funds there designated to help. You've got to qualify. You've got to fill out the paperwork first and foremost. I am going to have them on my show in the very near future. And all of these things start to kind of join together. I will tell you that the rule with FEMA is the same guidelines I'll give you with everybody else. Don't throw your hands in the air and quit. The words no need to turn to yeses. And you do that by looking at why you got turned down and fixing the documentation that you need to get the yes. So if you've worked with FEMA and you've gone through a couple denials, most go through 7 denials before they get anything. Stay on top of the game. Stay engaged with them. The resiliency organization is out of Sarasota County, and they do have the funds. It's designated to do the helping part for our citizens. So if you're still in need, whether you're in Northport or unincorporated Sarasota County, please check those check the resiliency organization out and get in contact with them. If you need help with that, please feel free to message me on Facebook. You can comment on the show. This is really trying to engage with the citizens and find out how one KDW can help facilitate those connections, and also how can we as a city and an advocate for communication from the city, what is it that you need from City Hall? Northport Forward has been doing a great job facilitating these conversations. More citizens need to show up, and there's one coming up at Lakeside Plantation, and it's in June, and it is very important. It's vital that one, you either watch on the air, because I do film those live, or you participate in person. The presentations there are phenomenal. They're information packed. Most important part of that whole evening, though, I find, is the Q&A, because citizens do sit there, they listen, they are engaged with the kind of the state of the city address that is given, and the future and the problems that they're dealing with. But along those lines, the Q&A is phenomenal, because you have city staff who have over 90 years expertise in the field, answering questions and giving straight answers. And the last time I was there and doing the filming, I do want to point something out, because along the same lines of dealing with FEMA, when you ask a question at an event like that, and you are frustrated with your answer and you get up and you walk out, that's on you. Follow it up. Ask if you're frustrated by a question. You can't throw your hands in the air. There's too many generalities that can be given on an answer, and if you're not happy with the answer you have or you've received, ask the question differently, maybe more direct. I do watch what people ask, and a lot of times they give a soft answer in there, or a soft question, and it's wide scope, and they're asking direct what that is, and you can see that with the question that they're asking, and the answer they get, and their facial expression when they get the answer. When you ask a wide open question, be prepared for a wide open answer. That's on you. That's the citizen has to take responsibility at some point for how they ask representatives and staff the question. Be very specific. Doesn't even hurt to write it down. And if you can't show up and participate, go on City Hall's website, and they actually do get on City of Northport's website and follow that comment, and they ask those questions at the meetings. The Q&A session runs about 45 to an hour long at the end, and you can't just count on one representative in questions like that. So the beauty of what Northport Forward does is they actually bring all the staff members to the game. The staff is there, they're engaged, they're in the back of the room, they're pulled up to answer questions. It to me is probably one of the greatest things that happen in our city that not enough people know about, and we're working on that too. It's a real struggle here to get information to citizens. If they don't know about it, they're working, they've got kids, they're the average age of 54 in our town. It's very young compared to every other city around here. If you're looking to get involved. If you're looking for solutions, you're looking for Q&A, you're looking for an involvement side of things, Northport Forward is a great place to go to gain that insight. Watch the videos on their site. Watch what happens. The other side of this, though, is what would you think if the radio station tried to get a 6:30, 6 o'clock news update specific for Northport, like 100% specific to our city? I hope that you would engage in that even on your way home at 97.5 FM and listen in and get your update. These things matter as we grow as a community. Sean Kirkpatrick, thank you. Great, absolutely great idea. I appreciate the feedback, brother. We are working really hard to strategically plan our future. We're heading into what is now forecasted to be a very active hurricane season. We all know what Ian brought us. We are actively working at the station, and City Hall is actively working on their prep and their planning for all of these things. And to have we already have an agreement. Here's the beauty in the station right now for citizens who don't know. Our agreement with the city of Northport is we are their emergency broadcasting system, 97.5, as long as we're on the air. That's the key to that conversation. With Ian, several weeks prior to that, we had a lightning strike. We got the antenna replaced. With Ian, we flooded, and so we kind of got knocked offline. We lost power. So we're working on some backup strategies at this point, and they're early in their infancy stage, but they're actively being pursued at lightning speed, I hope. But think about it. If we had, if we weren't down, we on the last hurricane with Ian, we would have had 97.5 FM as our broadcasting network for the city. We have that today. So spread the word. As long as we have power, as long as we are out there and we're talking about things that are vitally important to every citizen that we have. 97.5 is a nonprofit organization, but 97.5 FM will be the voice for citizens to turn to for home emergency broadcasting capabilities and networking. That's going to be the most important part of hurricane season coming up. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends, 97.5 FM, if we go under an emergency situation, that is the station to turn to for Northport updates. And we're looking to build that relationship stronger every day. And I think that word has to get out now. It has to be shared. Sean Kirkpatrick made a statement. We are too big of a city to not have something like CNN in place. Well, we have 97.5 FM, and that's going to draw others. That's going to draw other ideas along the way. The beauty is we do have a network right here in town. We have an FM station that, believe it or not, we're air rated. We've got and we're wind rated for hurricane up to about 140 miles an hour. We could have lowered our tower down and put it back up and had communications, but with no power, that's also a problem. So we're trying to resolve those issues. We're trying to get a generator installed. We're looking at lots of things. So yeah, SNN is a Sarasota news network. their local news channel. I agree with you, Sean, 100%. WKDW radio right now is our source for Northport. And while they may have the TV spotlight, they may have all those things through SNN, I will tell you that if we don't start telling people about what we have at 97.5 for hurricane season, it's going to be really, really bad when it comes to communication to the citizens of Northport and surrounding areas. Because if you're out on the road and you need to come through Northport, and we would have had 97.5 FM for Hurricane Ian, it would have made a huge difference knowing that you could have turned to that station to figure out how to get through Northport. There was a lot of information that I know I did on the air live during Ian and post Ian, interviews with FEMA, interviews with the Small Business Administration, interviews about how many times you had to go through a denial process with FEMA, the information and what they needed from you. All of these things we're going to be talking about over the next 30 days. I'm going to be in Inglewood at their Hurricane Expo. And I think the most important thing, preparation wise, get your important documentation, have it in a location, safety box somewhere that you feel is the best place for that documentation. Have cash. I interviewed somebody this past weekend, and she flat out said the biggest thing they struggled with is not having enough cash on hand to deal with what they had to deal with post hurricane. So there is some responsibility again for the citizens of Northport and surrounding areas to have themselves prepared. The after effects, it's also our responsibility as show hosts and citizens to get ourselves prepared for what we have to deal with post a hurricane. You've got to remember that go to FEMA, fill out the documentation, get the application in, because if you don't do the application, you don't get end result at all. If I took customers there myself, they got their checks. We're still writing appeals right now. We're still writing appeals. We're not taking no. They're still looking at those appeals. If they send another check, they do. The worst thing you could get is a no. The best thing you could get is another check to help fix your mobile home, fix your house, do the repairs you need to do. We are approaching in the next 30 days another hurricane season. The resiliency fund is there. There's another organization out of Port Charlotte, and I'll post this in the notes for later today. There is another organization out of the Charlotte County area. They do not come into Sarasota, but there's an organization for people who live in Charlotte County, and they're doing the same thing. They're still giving funds out. They're still helping people get their things rectified from Hurricane Ian. So if you find yourself or friends or family in that scenario, you can call me. I can give those numbers to you. They're 941-391-4663. That's my cell. I'm easy to find all over Facebook, Remax Realtor. WKDW has my number. You can call. I will help all I can to get you in the right spot to get assistance. But the beauty in going to a Hurricane Expo in Inglewood next month, because we've already had ours in Northport, is what you're going to learn by asking questions at each one of these tables. There are nonprofit organizations out there that are approaching things at a million mile an hour clip to change out what they learned. So it's the reassessing that happens post an event that happens for a lot of these organizations. The food banks are operating still at an all-time high. I did speak with the Inglewood Food Bank, and their strategy is to help each and every individual out there. They also have a canned food drive that's coming up with nationally with the post office. We're going to be talking about that. it is vital that we start supporting now some of these food banks, because if we were to get hit early in the season, and we could because of the warm water that we have out there, hopefully we'll get a tropical storm that'll just churn everything up. But if we can get the involvement of every citizen, I one can makes a difference at a food bank from each individual citizen. Take 5 in. I'm going to promise you, the minute you take a bag into them, you're best friends forever. They are very much dedicated to helping the less fortunate, the people who are in harm's way, the people that need the help the most, that the targeted few. How about that? That don't have expense uh, leverage in the world. You've got to realize that everyone out there, I don't care who you are, you need help at some point. You've got to be afraid not to ask for it. You got to be cool enough to say it's okay to ask, but you also have to react. You have to react to the information that you get. You have to take responsibility for following up with it. You have to take responsibility for denials. You have to stay on top of all those things. One denial is not good enough from FEMA. I'm going to reiterate that because we're going into season. It's multiple. It's 5, 6, 7, 8 denials. Act like they're going to get tired of hearing from you. But make sure you know what you're doing with your content. Find out what the denial is and then dive into that. Don't let it be a general statement and never find out exactly why they denied it. Ask. Be bold. Just like asking your city representatives a direct question. Don't make it wide open. If you're going to walk out of a room and throw your hands in the air because you're frustrated with the answer, maybe you target your question. Settle things down. Write things down before you go to these meetings, because you're going to hear new information and it may change how you ask something. Write the question down ahead of time. Write down exactly what it is that you're wanting to find out to a T. One gentleman asked about Lady Slipper, and Lady Slipper is one of the lowest lying corners on 75. But he asked a question, and I think because of the answer he got and the amount of time that was spent on giving the answer, it was explained to him in a satisfying manner, because he owns so many properties in that area. 9, I believe he said. So you own 9 lots back in Lady Slipper, and things are going to change in Lady Slipper. Things are, they have to change. It's a flood area. Concepts of our flooding, our streets, our waterways. When the streets are up to your doorway, our streets are no longer the waterways. It's the whole area that's waterways. And that's what Lady Slipper found out. But the way you change that is you either, as a city, spend all the money in that corner to try to rectify the flood, or you swap it out for commercial, and commercial takes on the responsibility as they build and transition that area, the transition of the flood and the mitigation of that whole area. That's a vital piece that people need to hear. It's not the only area. It's not the only area that the city is looking at in that regard. But you shouldn't feel targeted. So we've got pieces all over the city right now that are already and have been slated for mixed use. They're on 41. They're next to the library. They're the older homes that are over there. I think one recently just sold as office space. and it's the one furthest from the library towards the Shell gas station. And so I don't know if there's a business that's going in there. I don't know what it is, but it's taken that long for anyone to buy one of those houses and convert it into a business. And all of them are slated mixed use. How much traffic is on US 41 compared to Lady Slipper? This is a transition of an area that really is going to help anybody who is back there. And I don't want to say ever flood again, because we could get that storm this year. And that is the conversations that have to be had. We've already had it. We've already gone a couple years without anything. But can it happen again? One of the listeners that I have on the show on a regular basis is Chuck English. He reminds us all the time about the 90s and that the flooding in the 90s. Okay, well, we're talking 100-year flood. Do the math. Even if you're talking a 50-year flood, do the math. We're inside of that. We're inside of 50. So we have to look realistically at things that are happening. We have to look realistically at the corner where the hospital is going. Just because the hospital is going there doesn't mean they get the watershed all over everybody else's property. They have got to figure out a way to manage everything in conjunction with the build out, in conjunction with they can't watershed onto your property. Think about this though. If we're talking about a hospital building and they can't watershed, but they have to help mediate some of the water that is being maybe part of the flood problem. How much flooded? We were all the way in the estates. We were all the way out to Toledo Blade with water. That's a lot of water. And Lady Slipper was 3 weeks, 4 weeks before it came down to where people could get back to their house, and people were already in the estates. They were already at their location. So one build is not going to change anything. One building, if we get another storm like that, is not going to rectify what's coming. Besides that, how are you going to get prepared? How are you as citizens going to take the responsibility and say, you know what, I'm not staying this time. I got to get out of here. If we're going to get 14 hours of rain 3 days before the event, and then we're going to get 14 hours of rain during, we got a real problem. We are in the zone right now for storms that come overhead and go north. If anytime we get rain that goes over top of us and it rains and it rains and it rains and it goes north of us, where does all that water run? It all runs south. 80 miles of canals. And I've heard the comment that the city didn't do anything to lower the water in the canals. That couldn't be further from the truth. That is such BS that people think that. They need to ask the question. I did. Do you know why they couldn't go lower? Fish kill. Fish kill. So you're going to get a federal fine because you're killing wildlife if you let too much out. I got to tell you, I think if they had the choice to get rid of all the water and take the fine, they probably do that. But I don't even think that we could have done all of those things and prevented Ian at the rate it was flooding our area. And it had nothing to do with anything but the rising of water, keeping everything flooded. There's so many variables that happen in there, and the amount of rain that we took on. But you've got to look at the strategic side of what you're doing for planning your next hurricane. If you're in those low-lying areas, I've I've talked to the people over there. They're going to be ready. They know what to do. Do they want to go to a shelter? Listen, I went to one. It was not bad. But how many people have been to a shelter? How many people know what you have to take to a shelter? Food? Yep. Check mark. Meds? Yep. Check mark. Blankets? Yep. Check mark. You better act like you're going camping and take things that you can utilize in a 4x6 area. You're not going to get a room. It's not going to the hotel. You're going to be in a gym or in a classroom or somewhere with a lot of people. And we were blessed because Northport High School stepped the game up for Irma. Stepped the game up. I worked it along with staff over there. My wife worked it. We know what happens inside the walls. And I will promise you, people came empty-handed. Empty-handed. The reason we were blessed is the school opened up the refrigerators and fed everyone. The school did all of those things and had to manage the crisis on top of a crisis. Think about this for a minute. You're going into a hurricane situation and you are so unprepared that you show up to a hurricane shelter and you want to be the focus of why they should feed you, why they should give you a chair to sit on. I will tell you this. It's also a great group of people to protect the elders that are in the shelter. We had someone steal a chair. He brought his own chair, sat in his chair, got up, laid down on his blanket, woke up, his chair was gone. Highly suggest that you don't take people's things when you're in a shelter. Never lived in a shelter, have heard stories about that. When you take people's things inside of a shelter, that protection from others goes to level 10 really fast. Take your own stuff, look out for others that can't look out for themselves. Bring your own food, bring your own meds, and really stay calm. Stay calm through the whole event. The faster that people know that shelters are not a hotel, they're 100% there to protect you in the event of a shelter of a hurricane and a sheltering need. Probably the best learning part of what you should prep for at home is to spend one event in a shelter. Whether you want to go back or not, that'll change your opinion on how you need to get prepared and how you need to get your home prepared. If you're wondering when to start, today's a good day. It is the 29th of April. We've already had our Hurricane Expo in Northport. Englewood is having theirs in June. I'll have that date for you. I think it's I want to think it's the 1st, but I will have that date. We will be putting PSAs out. Even if you don't live in Englewood, go over and learn what you need to have set up. Get online and learn what you need to do to have your home in great shape. Check with your neighbors now. If they can put half of their hurricane shutters up and they're good with it and they're not darkening out their house, do it. Get some of them up. It doesn't hurt. You're just halfway prepared. A lot of these clear hurricane shutters now, they're awesome because you can put them up throughout the hurricane season if you really wanted to, and you still don't lose daylight too much in your home. So all of these things are a piece of the puzzle that we all must take responsibility for, and we all must do and help others. Our communities are crying out to be neighborhoods. Think about it. Think about it. Our communities are screaming to be neighborhoods again. Who you know on your street? Do you know any of your neighbors? I promise you this. Through Ian, I have so many people on my street that know my house is the place to go if you need something. Customers, friends who needed showers, who needed fed, they were here. Other citizens did great things, no question. Find out who those people are in your neighborhood. Those are the people you want to get to know. And then go learn the rest of your neighbors. Because at some point, if your neighborhood is at all affected by a hurricane or by flooding, you are not by yourself. And you definitely don't want to feel like you're alone on your own street if something goes down like that. You're going to need help. You're going to need support. It's not fun picking up the pieces of your life and putting them all back together by yourself. It's frustrating. It's difficult. And when you're getting denials from FEMA, it just feels like everything is going wrong. But remember this. When you get the check because you fought the denials, that happiness that you got to is end result. So focus on the end result. Don't focus on the little bumps in the road. Get yourself situated where everything is going to work out, and get a good supporting cast around you. And most of those people, I'll promise you this, are going to be your neighbors. And if you don't know them today, go knock on a door and introduce yourself and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I just wanted you to know who I am. And if we have another hurricane, I hope we can work together to make our neighborhood great again. That's the message that I think everybody needs to hear. I was at Sumter and Sumter and Lady Slipper. And I had to go back and get one of my customers. The guy I went back with had a John boat, and he was from north of Tampa. This is what people do from around our area to come down and help. Think about that, and then think about jumping in a boat with someone you don't know, not from your area, dropping you off at a house in the middle of a flood zone that is underwater, and hoping they come back. The reality is he did. He was awesome. But if you can't count on the fellow man and the fellow citizen, who are you going to count on? Emergency vehicles couldn't go back there. Boats had to go back. We had to have citizens step their game up from other communities and realize the best way I can help is to drive my boat there and help them. Difference makers in how many lives? Because I can't tell you how many families that one guy brought out of the flood zone. Can't tell you. It was nonstop. 100% committed to people he didn't know. Go into your neighborhoods, meet your fellow citizens, find out what they're going to need, find out if they need some help to prepare for the next hurricane. Work together and let's make the next hurricane scenario at least the best we can, because we saw greatness come together post-event at the last one. 8 named storms we're supposed to have. That's the rumor. 8 named storms. Listening audience, are you ready for 8 named storms to hit your home? I remember the story of 2 girls that got interviewed at Hooters on Fort Myers Beach that said, we're committed to our job. We've always been here. We're going to stay. I've never seen another interview with them. No one's ever talked about it. I watched the interview myself. I know what happened. If I was that reporter and I could interview those 2 people again, wouldn't I have already done it? At the same time, are we going to act the same way again and act like it's not coming? Prepare, prepare, prepare. This is kind of a targeted conversation. We're 1 month away from hurricane season. 1 month away. Are you ready? Station's getting ready. 97.5 and the city of Northport has a relationship right now that the emergency broadcasting capability will be 97.5 and the city of Northport emergency updates. If we get hit by Hurricane Ian again, hopefully it won't be named Ian, I doubt it. But if we get hit by another hurricane and we go into an emergency crisis mode, turn to 97.5 FM, and that is where you're going to hear things about Northport specific. That's the relationship we have today. Can it get better? I hope it does. I hope it improves beyond belief. If it does, holy cow. Northport will have a voice in any emergency. Citizens of Northport need to hear from city leaders, city staff, city emergency crews during that time frame. And we're going to make that happen. As long, the caveat is, as long as the radio station is able to broadcast, and I'm not talking social media side, that's internet. So if our internet goes down, we're hardening up what we can harden. We're going to have backup generator. We're going to do all these things. As long as we can get FM out, that's when the city of Northport has a voice to its citizens. And the citizens have the ear of City Hall. Crucial to a better ending than we had with Ian. Not that there wasn't greatness. I already talked about the greatness. But if you're literally going to talk about the greatness of what happened there, you also have to talk about, and I hate the word change. It's not going to be change. How do you do it better? How do you do it better for the citizens of Northport? And how do you get the information out? My cell phone number, 941-391-4663. If you have any questions, needs, hot topics that you want, please call me, text me, email me. You can do all those things through Real Talk 97.5. I'll be happy to put shows together based on what you're looking for. Because if you're looking for it, someone else in our community is looking for it too. This is John Rawlings with 97.5 FM Real Talk Radio saying thanks for listening in, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless.